Yo, welcome to the Nightly Strange.
Welcome to the Nightly Strange, ladies and gentlemen. We are your hosts, D-Mac Uno,
Rozzy the champ,
and I'm Keyz Family.
Special guest in the building, Zamran.
How you doing? This is Zamran. Glad you guys have me here tonight, man.
Yeah, thanks for coming through. So, I've known you for a couple years, man, and the one question I really want to ask, so you used to be a devout Christian, right? And then you switched to Hebrew Israelite. So, like, what made you switch?
What made me switch was actually I was at work. I went to lunch. This was around maybe 5 years ago. I went to lunch and went to the casino, try to get a little quick drink. And I had a Caucasian man who came up to me and literally just bowed down in front of me and also my other buddy, my friend. And, I didn't understand what he was doing. And I told him to get up. And he said, no, you don't understand. You're the chosen people. You guys are the chosen people. This is the reason why I'm bowing down. And I ended up engaging into a conversation with him for literally about 30 minutes. I had an hour lunch. So I engaged into a conversation with him for 30 minutes, and he's just teaching me as far as what he read dealing with the scriptures as us being the holy people. And he told me, I still didn't believe him, right? So he said, well, look up, Hebrew Israelites, on your own time. And so when I left, I looked it up. I ran across a video which was from a certain Hebrew Israelite camp, Watchmen for Israel, which is what I'm currently a part of right now, running the Seattle area. And I literally was just hooked. Like everything just clicked as far as all the scriptures that were coming out. And I ended up going home that day when I got off work, went and grabbed my own Bible just to fact check it myself, just to see if that's, what my spirit felt, what was right. And, as far as like what the guy was saying. And so from then on out, man, I just kind of ran with it, man. But these things actually happen for a reason. I want to bring out a precept real quick, which is the scripture.
Is that the King, and you have a Bible in your hand, letting our audience know, is that the King James Version?
It is the King James Version. And the reason why that I subscribe and that we read to the King James Version is because in 1611, it was the original Bible that was actually given to our people once we got off the ships dealing with slavery.
Yes.
And so you have a lot of versions like the ESV and the NIV that are actually missing scriptures. And it's said, Christ actually said in Revelation that if you add or you take away from the word, that these plagues are going to be added unto you. So we subscribe to, as Israelites, we subscribe to the King James Version. And we understand, too, that dealing with the Old Testament, it's written in Hebrew, and that the New Testament is written in Greek. So we deal with etymology, right, to fully understand as far as what these words actually mean. I want to get the book of Ephesians chapter 1. I'm going to go to verse 18, right, just to show as far as how I woke up, because it's not just me, but you have a lot of people that's actually been waking up in these last days.
Yes.
And this is actually prophesied that it was going to happen in the Bible, which we don't hear about dealing with Christianity church. So this is Ephesians chapter 1, verse 18. The eyes of your understanding being enlightened, that ye may know what is the hope of his calling and what the riches of the glory of his inheritance in the saints. So the Most High, and first of all, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High, who's known as Yahweh, through his son, Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai, who the world calls Jesus Christ, going back to our Hebrew language.
Because the letter J was not created until the 16th century.
Was not created until the 1600s.
I was going to say, hold on. So just wind that back just one more time for our listeners.
Yes.
So explain who that is, again, the connection.
So Yahweh is his that's the Most High God. He actually has a name. That's the creator of us all. And that goes back to ancient Paleo Hebrew. See, when you're dealing with Genesis, right, you read the book of Genesis chapter 1, right, it literally says God created the heavens and the earth. That term God just means Elohim, which means in the Hebrew, which means power. So you'll see verses in Genesis chapter 1, let us make man in our image. So this is not dealing with a singular term. This is a plural. So the creation was actually done from Christ, because he was the first spirit that was created according to the Bible.
Okay.
And the host of the angels. And the Most High God, Yahweh, gave him the power. You don't even see, then you get to chapter 2, then it says the Lord God, which the Lord is in all caps.
Right.
that translates back to the ancient Paleo-Hebrew with YHW, you know what I'm saying, H, which really you have the, you didn't have a lot of vowels, so you had sounds dealing with the ancient Paleo-Hebrew.
Okay.
So that translates to Yahweh,
Okay.
right, which means he exists. And his son's name, Yahweh Shai, means he that delivers. Because according to biblical prophecy, he's going to be the one that comes back to deliver his chosen people.
Okay.
So this is why, you know, I try, you know, you have many different names. You know, you have a lot of people that say, oh, his name's Yahushua, or his name is Yahweh, and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Well, what, for me, my spirit says that his name is Yahweh, and his son's name is Yahweh Shai. But Ecclesiastes, I'm going to bring this out real quick. There's certain things that I you know, that the Most High has revealed to us, that there's certain things that we're not all going to know, right? It's not going to be revealed until he comes back. So this is Ecclesiastes chapter 8, verse 17. Then I beheld all the work of God, and this God is just God. So this is the work of the powers, right? That a man cannot find out the work that is done under the sun. Because though a man labor to seek it, because that's what we're doing right now. We're laboring to seek who we are. We're laboring to seek these powers. Yet he shall not find it. Yea, Father, though a wise man think to know it, yet shall he not be able to find it. So we're just here to rehearse the righteous acts, according to Judges 5 and 11. So no man knows everything in the mysteries. No man knows everything of the Most High God. He only reveals what he wants to reveal too. So I believe that his name is Yahweh, Bahashem, which means through his son, Yahweh Shai, right? Which the world calls Jesus Christ. So I don't really try to get into those, you know, too much, try to argue with other people who think that his name is Jesus and things of that nature. You know, at the end of the day, you know, the main goal is that we know that we're the chosen people, based on the scriptures, and that we have laws, statutes, and commandments that we have to keep.
And they actually have proof that they can actually trace our DNA, correct, back to ancient Hebrew civilizations.
Yes, they can.
Well, that's actually what I was going to ask you. Is it all, you know, all of, you know, blacks here in America, or is it just specific ones who can trace to these specific?
So it's based, let me pull this up. This is Numbers 1 and 18. Because it's based off your father. It's not based off the bloodline of your mother. The father is the one who establishes the seed, and the mother is the one who carries the seed in the womb. This is Numbers chapter 1, verse 18, and this is dealing with the Israelites. And they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees. So when you're declaring a pedigree is your nationality, your heritage, your lineage, who you truly are. And they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers. So it's not based on who your mother is, it's who your father is. So you have a lot of people in this world or in the earth that just think that, you know, us taking back our heritage and who we are, you know, they label us black Hebrew Israelites, when black is just a color.
Right.
And this thing is not about color, right? It's about a chosen bloodline. For instance, like you have Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback.
Right.
And his father is an Israelite from the tribe of Juda, which would be known as a so-called African American. And he laid down and slept with a Caucasian, right, which are known as the Edomites in the Bible, who their forefather is Esau, right? And you see the skin tone of Patrick Mahomes. He's lighter than all of us, right? But it's not about the skin color. He's still an Israelite from the tribe of Judah because of that seed that goes back to his fathers. Then you have Patrick Mahomes. He married a Caucasian woman, right, and had a child with a Caucasian woman, and his son literally has, you know, Caucasian type skin, blue eyes, blonde hair, but guess what? He's still an Israelite from the tribe of Judah. And so that's the message that kind of gets misconstrued with a lot of people that don't support us coming back to our heritage and nationality. They have a problem. They call us, you know, hate group. They call us, you know, anti-Semitic and things of that nature. And then they label us as black Hebrew Israelites. Well, black is not a nationality.
No, it's not. Neither is white.
Right. Neither is white. Right. And why are these terms put, you know, on the Caucasians and put, you know, specifically on our community? It's because it's the purpose of election. Because the Most High mapped out how everything was supposed to be before we even got to the point that we're at right now. So you got to look at it as he's the director of this movie that we're living in. This life is nothing but a movie, and he's the director, and he decides what roles are going to be played. And these are the roles that he chose for me, to play as an Israelite from the tribe of Judah. So.
But it's kind of hard to, it's a couple things to unpack there. So when I think of the Bible, I think of that as that was the religion, like we're talking about, of the oppressor. That I can't think of that's what my ancestors, were practicing, what was in there. And then the other component that has to do with that is that the person being described with all the power in that book, this entity seems like they're very kind of like prideful in a way, like, I'll give you all of this, but if you don't follow or you don't obey, it will bring me joy to take it all away from you and see you suffer. And
you're actually learning that's the true characteristic of Yahweh, the Most High God, right? The creator of everything. And this is the thing, is that, when you're dealing with religion, the Bible is not a religious book. And you will only find that out by actually reading. And so what's told as far as dealing with, the so-called African Americans, right, who they call black. You want to, hide something from a so-called black man, put it in a book. And our people they tend to not want to read and find out for their own. They're just content with just listening to, pastors who are under Christianity. Because like Christianity, that word is not even in the Bible, right? And when you deal with the word Christian, right, the true Christians, according to Acts 13:1, were actually called niggers, according to Acts 13:1. Because that word, I'm going to pull it out for you real quick.
Because they were, maybe kept all their coin real close. They didn't want to share it, that kind of, like, niggardly,
to be a Christian is to be a follower of Christ.
Okay.
And a lot of the followers of Christ during the times where he was living in the Roman times, right, were so-called black men and women, right, and children. So, they put that label Christian, right, to be a follower of Christ, and most of them that were following Christ were our people. And so the word Christianity is just really dealing with a man-made religion, because everything, right, dealing with Catholicism, Christianity, Islam, these are all man-made religions. Like, even for instance, like Islam, or they read from the Quran, right? And that word Quran means to recite. And what are they reciting from? They're reciting from our heritage, which is the Bible, because we get our heritage from the Bible, right? This is literally just nothing but a history book.
Yeah, it seems so. From my understanding, I was told that when the Egyptians basically had a war against the Romans, they fought on a foreign land, and the Egyptians lost. And so when the Romans came into Kemet, all the scrolls, there was no one to stop them. So all the stuff in the Bible is just basically scrolls they all took, and they put all the books together.
Yeah, so we actually lost a lot of we don't have all the books.
Yeah, they burned it, right?
Written.
Well, there's actually like 4 missing from the Bible that you can actually have access to, is what I've heard.
Right. Well, so we had actually 7 major captivities, 7 major slaveries that we've had to gone through as Israelites. Right. The first one was dealing with the Egyptians. The second one was dealing with the Assyrians. Right. Which actually the northern kingdom, you have 2 different kingdoms dealing with the 12 tribes of Israel. You have Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Judah represents the African Americans of today. Benjamin represents the so-called Haitians, like Kodak Black and things of that nature.
Oh, okay.
And then you have Levi. Sorry. Benjamin actually represents the Jamaicans. Sorry about that. Messed that up. Benjamin represents the Jamaicans. Then you have Levi, which represents the so-called Haitians. Like Moses was a so-called Haitian, right, from the tribe of Levi. And then the rest of the tribes from Ephraim all the way on down represents the Native Americans and Hispanics of indigenous, descent. So you have Argentina in there, right? You have the Brazilians, right? This just shows you that it's really not dealing with the skin color. So the northern kingdom ended up going into captivity and was put into slavery, right, under King Salmanazar, who was the king of Assyria. And they did not like being put into captivity, so they ended up coming together. I'm going to bring this out because this really kind of shows, the Bible shows.
Now, what's this one?
This, and I'm glad you asked that question. So this would be, so when you're dealing with the 1611 King James Bible, this will be the missing books that Martin Luther, who was a Protestant, right, took out from the original King James Bible. And the reason why that he took these books out is so that our people wouldn't know that we were also under captivity under the Greeks. Because in this book, like, hey, we deal with history, right?
Yeah.
So and we understand the Bible is just a history book.
Bible's just a history.
This is a huge part of history that they decided to remove, because you have people like Alexander the Great, right, who's in this Bible, right? King Antiochus, right? You have the Ptolemaic Empire and things of that
we're going
nature.
way back here.
Right. This is before Christ.
Okay.
Yeah, that's like after Genesis, isn't it? Like the books.
Actually, so you have Genesis, and then you'll see in the Old Testament it ends with Malachi, right? Then it jumps straight to Matthew.
Yeah.
No, it goes from Malachi, then it goes to the Apocrypha, right? Which is really part of the Bible. Then it jumps to Matthew. And the reason why they did that is because you have verses that Paul wrote, which, the scripture says that the writings of Paul are going to be to a lot of our people's destruction, because his writings are hard to understand, which is usually in dark sayings and metaphors and similitudes. And so you have verses like neither Jew or Greek, right? That a lot of Christianity uses and say that, hey, that salvation is for everybody, that God is for everybody. Well, what they don't realize is, what our people don't realize is that the reason why they took this out is because of verses like that, so that when our people see that, okay, it's neither Jew or Greek, then they're just thinking that, that the Most High God is for everybody, when they don't realize that this book was missing out of the original Bible. So for instance, this is 2 Maccabees chapter 6 verse 6. Neither was it lawful, and this is dealing with the Greeks,
Okay.
neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feast, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew, right? And then you jump down to verse 9. And whoso would not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles should be put to death. So you have a lot of our people that were put to death just for keeping their heritage, just for representing their heritage and who the Most High God made them to be. So when you have a lot of our people that are being killed off after generation, you got a lot of our people that are now, who made a covenant with these Greeks. Then it gets to the point where they think that they're Greek, right? And they represent themselves as being Greek. It's kind of like how we call ourselves, we used to call ourselves, like I used to call myself an African American.
Yeah.
Right.
Because that's what was taught to me
Yes.
once I was born from my mother.
Right.
Well, if I don't do my history, then, I'm never going to know. I'm just going to keep thinking that I'm African American. Then I tell my children that, and you have a repeat of history, that's going on, to the point where you get to a certain generation and everybody thinks they're African American.
And it doesn't make sense. Like, we have no roots to Africa naturally, and we have no rights here in America.
Right.
I mean, I like foundational Black American. I like that one. That works for me.
That sounds real snappy.
Yeah, it's better than American descendant of slaves. Then people get slavery, huh? Like, yeah. The stuff they're not going to teach your kids in 10 years. But I mean, after you got woke to your history, man, how did you feel in life? How did that carry for you? Because for me, it's like, I watched the Hidden Color films, because I was just sitting here bored. People was giving me shit at work, and I watched the Hidden Colors films. And after I got done with it, I was happy, I was angry, I was sad, I was upset. You saw me after that,
Right?
I was ready to revolt on the world. You know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? And I was angry for 2 years. How did you feel after just getting knowledge of self in history? How did that make you feel?
Honestly, felt the exact same way that you felt, but it put a spirit in me to really just do a lot of reading and a lot of studying, to figure out what was the whole base matter of why all this is happening. Why is it that now at this time that I'm learning that who I truly am, when this information has been available for us for quite some time? Why didn't my mother tell me about this? Why didn't my fathers tell me about this? You know what I mean? Why didn't my grandfathers? Why didn't my forefathers and foremothers tell me about this? So it put a spirit in me to really just study. So really, how I felt, right? I'm gonna pull this out. This is Ecclesiastes, because it woke up my eyes to the conditions of our people, right? This is Ecclesiastes, chapter 7, verse 7. Right, I'm gonna bring this out, and it says, Ecclesiastes 7:7, and this is Solomon, the son of David, who's also from the tribe of Judah. Surely oppression maketh a wise man mad, and a gift destroyeth the heart. So I look at the oppression of our people from generation after generation. for so many years. We've been impressed as so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? We're the only ones that fit the curses dealing in Deuteronomy 28. Because to be an actual Israelite, you have to fit the curses of Deuteronomy 28, which is, you know, you got celebrities like, you know, Kanye and Kyrie and
Kendrick.
you know, Kendrick Lamar. You have Nick Cannon and things of that nature. They're learning all this information, but you have to back it up with the scriptures. If you don't back it up with the scriptures, right, then you're breaking the commandment. Because in 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 11, we're instructed to speak the ordinances of the Most High God. So if you're going to speak on everything, you have to back it up with scripture. And so when I look at this, like, okay, well, if we're the real Jews, you know, and we're supposed to fit the curses, you know, you read verses like Deuteronomy 28:68. There's only 68 verses in this chapter. Verses 15 all the way to 68 are the curses that are still placed upon us to this day. But 68 is the key. And it says, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. Now, I'm going to stop right there. Now, it may not make sense because we know through history that Moses freed the slaves out of Egypt when we crossed that Red Sea, the Israelites. We never made an about face and went back into Egypt because we were slaves in Egypt. That wouldn't make any sense. So why is it saying that the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships? Well, the Bible tells us in Isaiah 28:10, in order to get understanding of the Bible, you have to read precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little, which means that you have to jump from the Old Testament to the New Testament, from one chapter to another book to get the full understanding. So to understand why he brought us into Egypt again with ships, well, what does Egypt mean? This is Exodus 20:2. I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. So Egypt is known as a house of bondage. Another word for bondage is slavery. So this was actually prophesied to our people once we crossed that Red Sea in hopes to get to the promised land, that if we didn't listen to his words, that he was going to bring us into Egypt again, slavery again, with ships. By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. We haven't seen our true homeland, Jerusalem. And there, once we got off those slave ships, ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen, that's slavery men, and bondwomen, which is slavery women, and no man shall buy you. That word buy, because this is dealing in the Old Testament in the Hebrew, goes back to the meaning and definition, the meaning of redeem. We haven't had no man, no matter how he's tried, like Martin Luther King, you know, Malcolm X, right? Marcus Garvey, even the so-called leaders that we have now. What's the brother's name? Dr. Umar Johnson. You know, there's nothing that they can do to free us out of this slavery. We're still in slavery right now.
Yes.
So what did we, and that's a great point, because when you're reading that whole 68 verses of that, well, really, it's like you said, starting on the verse 15, when you get to the curses, and it's just cursed, like you're not getting nothing. What did we do to earn that? Because right before that, it talks about the 10 Commandments, but it does. I don't read where I didn't readily find. What did we do to warrant the curses that cursed us?
That's a great question. Let me address that with a scripture. Right? Let me address that with a scripture. Let's go to 1 Chronicles.
Okay.
I'm going to go to 1 Chronicles chapter 16, verse 13. O ye seed of Israel, his servant, ye children of Jacob, because Jacob is our forefather. He's the forefather of the 12 tribes of Israel, the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. His name got changed to Israel. O ye children of Jacob, his chosen ones. So we are his chosen ones, right? We're also his favorite people. We're also the true children of the Most High God. And we got kids, right? And when your kids don't listen, you have to discipline them. But the Most High God, right?
I sent mine to their mama's house. Go on. No, I don't want to go. I don't want to go.
But I'm talking about that. I'm like, you unplug the Wi-Fi. With something like that, you can't go outside or whatever. But no. The powers that be, they were not playing. So I'm just like, what exactly transpired?
Well, it's like evil works twice as hard. Like, no matter how hard you try, they're 10 steps ahead of you.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's
right.
how they're holding on to their power and stuff. How do you feel about people that, like, all this information is out there, and a lot of people in the church, the black church, Christian church, they see it and they're like, "Nah, I'm good."
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It's like they refuse to be woke to the information, and so I don't know if it's like, I feel like some people, they have that false power in church. Where it's like, you're that person that stands back there with the finger up and you look at everybody when they try to get up and talk. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to get that power up. They don't want to start over. Just like people that are gangbanging. I was talking about this earlier. Like somebody's 40 years old gangbanging. Like they don't want to give up that false power. Like why do you think people are scared to leave the Christian church?
Well, it all goes back to the curses. Like
Keyz
Stanley was saying earlier. It all goes back to the curses. I'm gonna bring up 3 scriptures, right, to try to address this as quick as possible. This is Deuteronomy chapter 28. I'm gonna start at verse 64.
Okay.
Right? And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other, which we know we've been sold in slavery on all 4 corners of the earth.
Yes.
Right? And there, once we got to wherever the Most High God wanted us to be, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. So these certain gods, like you think of Christianity, the symbol that represents Christianity is that wood cross.
Right.
Right?
It's kind of weird.
Which is but this is prophesied though. You see what I'm saying? The Most High God, again, this is his movie, so he knew it was going to play out this way. Right? Then you have a lot of our people, they say that, I'm Muslim, right? And they worship, in Islam, they worship that cobblestone and things of that nature. They go to the Mecca and they all bow down, to this big square stone, right, once a year and things of that nature, right? So this was part of the curses. We were scattered, and once we were scattered, right, we're going to reject our heritage and our knowledge. Let me go to Hosea.
We literally lost. I mean, it really is outlined. We've lost everything in there. Just our identity. Our children being taken away and scattered. Just as
and then being forced to live a life that we weren't even supposed to be living in the first place.
Yeah.
But it also should show you the amazing feat of black, as I say, black people here in America. Because no matter how bad they've treated us, how bad we are, if you look at everyone now, everyone still wants to copy the slave.
That's right.
We are the flyest thing here in this country.
What did he say? Everyone wants to be black.
He said everybody wants to be a nigga, but nobody wants to be a nigga.
There it is. Okay. That's the unedited.
Hey, niggas in the Bible, so that's it.
It says nigga in the Bible?
Yeah, it does.
No, he was talking about that. That's what I was asking
earlier.
I'm gonna bring out what you just said though, because this is Deuteronomy 7:6. This is how he made us. Right? It says, "For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God." The word holy means separate. And we are separate from every other race when you're dealing with the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? "The Lord thy God hath chosen thee, the Israelites, to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth." Nobody can cook better than us. Nobody can play sports better than us. Nobody can dress better than us. And we're literally the inventors of a lot of these, inventions, right, that we're seeing today. The stoplight.
GPS.
You know what I mean? GPS. Come
Computer
on, man.
chips.
Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of. I saw one the other day. I can't remember what it was. I was like, damn, we made that too? Oh, the car.
What,
Right.
did we do
You know,
penicillin as well, I think?
I don't know, but I know
It was
the car.
I thought it was antibiotics.
A black man made the car, right? But they put it in history. They say Henry Ford was the first one to mass produce cars. They say that, but he wasn't the first. It was a black man actually made the car.
Right.
know?
And that also goes back into the curses, as far as everything that we create,
Yeah, you're not
our
gonna get
enemies
credit
take
for it.
away
Yeah.
from us.
You don't get to keep it.
Right? This is Deuteronomy chapter 28, I'm going to start at verse 18. "Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body and the fruit of thy land, the increase of thy kin and the flocks of thy sheep." Matter of fact, I'm going to jump to verse 17. "Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store." So we come up with these creations, right? When you're dealing with the basket and store, that's coming up with everything that we create, our businesses and things of that nature, our business ideas, right? We come up with these ideas and then it's snatched away from us. And then our oppressors and our enemies, right? They're the ones that reap the benefits off that.
Just like the word Juneteenth.
Exactly.
The guy that owns Great Value sold through Walmart trademarked the name.
Right.
That's a fumble on all of us right now.
Yeah, everyone.
All of us.
And keep in mind too, in Deuteronomy 28:46, it says, "And they," these curses, "shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever." So, when we're seeing our people getting shot down in the streets, when we're seeing our people having knees put on their necks, when we're seeing, literally that we can do whatever we try to do to try to come up and come together and create our own. You had Black Wall Street, man, that was burned down.
Multiple times.
Right?
Multiple times.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Towns flooded just because they were like prosperous. Nope, we're just going to flood the entire town.
New York's their Central Park used to be a black neighborhood.
Manhattan Beach in California used to belong to a black community.
But I think they gave that back to the family.
Well, they didn't give us what we were supposed to be getting. They give us little handouts.
Yeah.
You get like a plaque.
Right. Little handouts. And these are curses upon our seed forever. This is 48. Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger. We don't own any grocery stores. Mm-hmm. Even if we have to come up with our own farming systems, we have to pay taxes for that. Who are we paying taxes to? Our enemies, according to the Most High. Right? And in thirst. Hey, we live over here in Washington, and water is free. Fill up that bucket of water and purify it. You're gonna get a felony for it.
Yeah, you can't capture you can't capture rainwater. Yeah, you can't do that.
Wait. So the people that I see that from their downspouts into like a keg, an oak keg, you're not supposed to do that?
Not supposed to, not in Washington, not allowed to collect rainwater.
Wow.
Think about it. If you live in Washington, you could collect rainwater. It rains 300 days out there.
Yeah, it's rain festival.
Who's gonna catch you?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
As long as you ain't getting caught doing it,
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of houses. That's why I bring that up, because I've seen houses where they started to do the barrels to try to catch the rainwater.
Really? Point them out. I might have to pay my rent tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
But it's some crazy shit that it's just some crazy shit that you can attempt to rob a bank or a liquor store, but if you get caught robbing some water that just comes right from the air.
Exactly.
Who's still robbing banks these days, though? Like,
I mean,
I see that. I'm like, bro, what you getting there? $20?
Actually, I mean, robbing banks now is like cashing a phony check these days.
Well, I'm saying, like, you can't. They don't. People think robbing a bank like it's the old Wild West, where they open up the little handle cart and there's like $20,000 in there. No, the lady got to put in the computer. The machine's like, all right, you can have it now.
Yeah.
And then they lock the door on you. The camera's in your face. Like,
cameras everywhere.
I think about it every time I go to cash my check. I'm like, can I make it out of here? That security guard's like 70 something. He ain't stopping me.
No, but they've got me on like 8 different angles. I'm not making it anywhere.
Yeah, and you have to serve him in nakedness, right? We're seeing that with Kanye, right? With, like, you can come up with your own clothing brand, but you have to still go through your enemies for them to put this stuff out.
Yeah.
Right? Then once you go against your enemies, you got Adidas canceling him, right? You got Balenciaga's canceling him.
That's what I don't understand.
Plan,
that's what I really don't understand. Why is he being labeled as anti-Semitic? Because really, what he's not saying anything.
No, it's because he said, "I'm gonna go DEFCON 3 on the Jews." But I mean, I knew what he meant. Like, he didn't say he was gonna kill them all.
No,
he was just gonna like expose what's
that's
really
what
going
it is,
on.
and you have to let him have that thought to really. That's what he wants to do. It's about exposure. But like, even Kyrie just posted a link.
Nah, see what I feel people overplayed their hand with Kyrie, because he just posted a link, and then people saw the film, and they're like, oh.
Yeah, so
y'all tripping about nothing right now.
But even with that though, even just with Kyrie posting a link, even with Kanye saying I'm gonna go DEFCON 3, right? This is all prophesied, that they do these things for a reason. They try to shut these guys down for a reason because it's in the scriptures, right? So for instance, this is Psalms 83, right? As far as dealing with the DEFCON 3, actually not the Kyrie situation, right? For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up their head. When you're dealing with head in the scriptures, that represents rulership. That represents, so in our head as Israelites is Christ, because there is an order. You have the Most High God, you have Christ, you have the man, you have the woman, and then you have the children. They, our enemies, have taken crafty counsel against thy people, the Israelites, and consulted against the hidden ones. We are the hidden ones. Our nationality has been hidden, right? Crafty counsel is coming up with some type of, plan, some type of, wicked, device to try to, to overtake us. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. So when you have somebody like Kyrie who comes out and says that we're the Jews, then you're putting it back into remembrance of our people.
And they're like, are you anti-Semitic? He's like, I can't be anti-Semitic if I know where I came from.
Exactly.
And I was like, ooh, it's crazy. It's like, for me, it's like, after I got woke, it's like, I listened to I was at a basketball game, the Clippers and the Trailblazers, and they started playing E40, Tell Me When to Go.
Yeah.
And I was like, Jesus Christ had dreads, so shake 'em. I ain't got none, but I'm playing on growing, son. Imagine all the Hebrews going dumb, dancing on top of chariots and turning tight ones. Ooh, tell me where to go.
Okay, like, yeah, there, hit me with the chorus. There we go. But I do remember that line.
Yeah.
Okay, but now it's all clicking.
Yeah, see, it all makes sense after a while. Like it's like we're getting woke to like your history and your past because it's so rich and it's so vibrant. Then you get so angry because like you go through school and it's all the stuff they left out, you know, on purpose. But it's like, hey, to the conqueror goes the spoils.
That's true. But even Kanye was just recently talking about this. Like, you know, you go to even Washington, D.C. in the museum, and Black history starts at slavery and then keeps going. You know, you don't ever learn about what happened before this history book, you know, from, you know, that we weren't just slaves. We were, you know, chosen people. We, you know, people that matter. Not just
like Native Americans. It's like you don't know anything about them before until the colonizers came.
Exactly.
You know, it's like, but I mean, like I said, people complain, oh, Thanksgiving, we're celebrating genocide. Christmas was doing pagan holiday. Yo, if you want to change it, do something about it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because talking and being on Twitter is not going to do nothing.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Either you infiltrate the machine on the inside or you overthrow it. You know what I'm saying? And for me, I was just not gonna cook turkey this year, but you know, it's whatever. I'm down for it.
Yeah. We were also trying to think of an alternative. I mean, we love.
You can celebrate with your family. Just don't cook whatever you want. Make some tacos.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was like, let's have pizza.
Also,
you know, just
black
do
people out
something
here, stop
different.
eating that soul food. It's over.
You gotta dial. No, what it is, you gotta dial back the sodium. We gotta dial back some of the butter, and we gotta watch our sugar.
Whoa! Not the butter. Not the butter.
It is the butter.
Not the butter. Not the butter.
Hey, if that food be hitting, I want something sweet. You feel me?
So you know, man.
Hold on, I wanted to address the DEF CON situation though, real quick with scripture dealing with Kanye, because there is going to be a certain time and place, right? When you're dealing with the definition of DEF CON, I had it pulled up earlier, but it's really just going into a it's like being a threat, but it's a non-physical threat. You know what I mean? It's not physical, but there will be a time where it is going to be a physical threat on these enemies who have literally stripped us of our heritage and our nationality. But it's going to happen in the Lord's timing, in the Lord's when the Lord comes and set up His kingdom, which will be here on earth.
Is that the rapture?
Well, see, the word rapture is not in the Bible, but that term dealing with rapture is in the Bible, right? But it's just not called rapture because you're gonna have. So the one you
some
have,
of us ain't gonna make it.
Yeah. You have. Yeah. Let me pull this out real quick. But real quick,
I'm
let me go
on a tangent. I'm sorry, everyone.
These are great questions, right? This is Jeremiah chapter 51. These are questions you can't ask in Christianity church. So it's all praise in the Most High that we're able to sit there, you know, and right now and be able to go over these things. This is Jeremiah 51:20. He's talking to the Israelites. Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war. For with thee, the Israelites, will I break in pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms. Because a kingdom that's divided against itself shall not stand, according to Christ.
Yeah.
And we're seeing the fall of this kingdom right now, dealing with Esau's kingdom, right? The Caucasian race's kingdom is coming to a fall right now, and then the kingdom that's going to follow after that will be the Israelites, which will be a kingdom that will stand forever, right? And so
this country is falling apart.
It is, though.
That's why I just said I'm happy I'm this close to Canada.
That's right.
I'm like 3 hours, huh?
Right.
Yeah, I saw some other celebrities were shot out when driving on in LA. Yeah.
Wow. Oh no, LA is crazy. The sheriff came out and he told everybody there, he's like, look, don't come here. We can't protect you.
Exactly.
Boosie was on the thing. He was like, look, I got robbed in LA. He's like, they're just not saying. He's like, rappers are getting robbed in LA. I don't know why y'all keep coming down here. Like, well, it's nice. They're like, it fools you. It's all nice and sunny. Then you give out that location and bow, get shot in the ankle.
Yep.
And then this is to answer your question. He said earlier that not everybody's going to make it.
Yeah.
Because, you know, contrary to popular belief, when you read in the Bible, and a lot of times our enemies, they showcase everything in their movies and in Hollywood, but our people are not reading to see that this stuff is actually prophecy. And, you know, the so-called UFOs, right? Unidentified flying objects. Well, they're in the Bible. Right, and they're not called unidentified flying objects. They're known as being flying rolls. They're known as being chariots. They're known as being clouds. Right, we've literally had so-called UFOs that has helped deliver us out of captivity, especially when we got out of Egypt. We had a UFO, so-called UFO, that was guiding us in the wilderness on our way to the promised land, to keep the enemies away from us. So this is the Most High God's chosen vehicle, and these angels are the ones that are operating these. So when you're dealing with, you said the so-called rapture, right? You're going to have a deliverance where literally you're going to have right before these missiles, because this place, America, is prophesied to be destroyed with international continental ballistic missiles, right? From the hands of Russia, Iran.
The Caucasus, someone from the Caucasus Mountains.
Exactly.
Yep. North Korea.
And this place being destroyed is the second death, which is with fire and brimstone. That fire and brimstone is talking about is dealing with these missiles. And this place is going to be wiped out completely, right? And the only ones that's going to be able to make it out of America, right? This is Zechariah chapter 13, verses 8. It shall come to pass that in all the land, saith the Lord, because you got our people spread out in all the land, right? 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die. So you have 2/3 of Israelites, 666, percent, 666, right, of Israelites that are going to be cut off and they're going to die in the land of their captivities. But the third, that's 1/3 of Israelites, shall be left therein. And I will bring the third part through the fire and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say, it is my people, and they shall say, the Lord is my God. Yahweh is my God. So you have 1/3 of Israelites, which are men, women, and children, right, who are doing their best to live righteous and keep the law, statutes, and commandments, which is why you have a huge awakening going on right now.
Yes.
Then you also have, every kingdom has to have a government. So you have 144,000 chosen elect men, right, that are going to be the governing body of the Lord's kingdom, which will be here on earth. And that's 12,000 from each tribe, from the 12 tribes of Israel. So you have 144,000 chosen elect. You have the 1/3 that are going to be beamed up into what the Caucasian man says is the so-called UFO. They're going to be beamed up. They'll be able to witness the destruction of America. They're going to be placed back into the wilderness, which is going to be the second wilderness, the Valley of Jehoshaphat, where Christ is going to come back and plead, for all the people to serve the Israelites.
Is this our judgment day?
This is pretty much judgment day, right? And in this time, we're going to be in our spiritual bodies, right? This is going to enter us into the new covenant. See, Christianity teaches that we're in the new covenant, but that's no way that we're in the new covenant, right? When I'm going to go to Hebrews.
That's what be upsetting me too. It's like, I know it feels like the end of days is coming, but I got to still wait 2 more years for certain movies to come out. House of Dragon. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you see what's happening. Can't you just...
That new Jon Snow.
I'm saying, can't you just drop the Flash today?
Hey, man, Ezra
Miller was killing me all year. I'm like, come on, bro.
Hey, I was born in '84, man. I'm probably going to witness, if the Most High ends this whole thing, man, hey, I'm going to live my whole life on this wicked earth, not never seeing the Oakland Raiders win a Super Bowl, man. So I kind of understand how you feel.
I mean, we can live for 2,000 more years. Ain't nobody gonna see that ever again,
right?
So but y'all have hope.
Yeah. So this is how you know. This is how you know that we're still in the old covenant, which is why we have to keep the laws, right? It says, this is Hebrews 8:8. For finding fault with them, he said, behold, the days come, and we're seeing these days come about, saith the Lord, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. So the reason why they say Judah and Israel is because Judah is the chief tribe of the southern kingdom, right? And then Israel represents that northern kingdom, right? And he's going to bring them back together, which is why you're seeing a huge awakening with so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans coming back together and not fighting against each other no more, right? It says, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they continued not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith the Lord. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days. I will put my laws into their mind and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them a God, and they shall be to me a people. This is the key though. And they shall not teach every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, know the Lord, for all shall know me, from the least to the greatest. So you still got people that's still teaching right now, right? You got all these different religions, right? you got all these different, breakdowns, all these different philosophies and things of that nature. Well, this is how you know that we're not in the new covenant, right? And that's going to be established once we end up getting beamed up out of here. We're going to start transitioning into that new covenant where the laws, everything that's written is going to be in our heart. We're just going to know it. We're going to know how to automatically keep the commandments. Our body's going to be in tune with keeping the commandments.
What do you feel about the book Chariots of the Gods?
I haven't looked into that. I got to look into that.
They have the whole show on History Channel is Ancient Aliens.
Mm-hmm.
It's based off Chariots of the Gods. Now, I look at some of it, and at first I thought it was very interesting. I'm like, oh, this is hella interesting. Then after a while, I got offended. So I was like, they're saying that no old civilization could have built these pyramids and these temples and had all this knowledge without the help of aliens. And I'm like, that's kind of insulting.
Yeah.
Like we would have all the knowledge, but as they say on Game of Thrones, they put it to the torch.
Yeah.
Well, when you're dealing with so-called aliens, right? What the so-called white man would say, right? We have to understand that they changed, just like they changed our heritage and nationality, right? These are really just dealing with angels. Because when you get the description of angels in the Bible, right, they're actually interesting beings, right? They're a lot different, right? Let me get this real quick, man. Bear with me, man. Let me pull this up real quick, right?
I'm just still not making the connection why people think that this awakening it's like a historical kind of more finding out about who you are, right, on a spiritual level. Why is that so offensive to like say people of the Jewish religion? Why are people labeling now if you want to be, of course every religion has this extremist, but why is it if you want to follow this and you want to have this as your faith, are you now considered anti-Semitic? Why?
Well, I think the anti-Semitic word is just thrown around anyway. Just like if you say something about people in the way Israel's doing the Palestinians, they call you anti-Semitic because to me it seems like you just can't say anything bad about anything that certain groups that the certain group is doing or whatever. But I mean, it's like there's a lot of people in this country that don't want black folks to know their history. They don't want them to know their knowledge. They don't want to know that maybe they were called Moors at one point in time, or that they were really Israelites. It's like there's a lot of money invested into us not knowing that.
Yeah.
Right. And that's to try to hide who we truly are, because the longer that we don't know who we are, the longer we're still mentally in slavery. And they can continue to just keep reigning over us. And it also slows down prophecy. The faster we wake up, prophecy speeds up.
Yeah, because I see with Kyrie Irving, a lot of them are backtracking now.
Right.
They're like highly like, oh no, he's not anti-Semitic. No, not this. It's just the owner of the Nets is making him do that whole list of things. But now they're jumping on him because he's been funding the genocide in China against Muslims.
Wow. Well, there you go.
But now they bring it up. They're like,
So I want to bring this out because this is going to give you a description a little bit dealing with these what they call the so-called UFO, and then it also gives you the description of these angels.
Oh, okay.
Right, which is where a lot of our enemies get the term aliens from. Right. This is Ezekiel chapter 10. I'm gonna start at verse 9. And when I looked, behold, the 4 wheels by the cherubims, one wheel by one cherub, and another wheel by another cherub, and the appearance of the wheels was as the color of a beryl stone. There was this viral post that was going around on Facebook and Instagram where it would show you like a wheel, literally going this way, and then you had a wheel in between it, right? And then it had like, eyes, and it was just like some weird looking, what I'm saying? They were saying like, oh, this is what an angel looks like. Oh. Well, this is actually in the scriptures, right? Verse 10. And as for their appearances, they had 4, they 4 had one likeness, as if a wheel had been in the midst of a wheel. When they went upon their 4 sides. They turned not as they went, but to the place whither the head looked, they followed it. They turned not as they went. And their whole body, and their backs, and their hands, and their wings, and their wheels were full of eyes round about, even the wheels that they 4 had. Right? I'm gonna go to verse 14. And every one had 4 faces. The first face was the face of a cherub. The second face was the face of a man. And the third face was a face of a lion, and the fourth face was a face of an eagle. So this is letting you know that, you know, these are angels, right? You got angels that have, you know, a face of an eagle, of a lion, of a man, all in one, right? So this is where a lot of our enemies get the terms, you know, aliens and things of that nature, because that's how they're going to look at it, right? But this is in the Bible. So we were created in the image, you know, of the Most High God in Christ, right? But these angels, the Most High has spirits, right? On the left-hand side, which is dealing with wickedness, right? He has death angels. Then he also has spirits that are dealing on the right-hand side that's dealing with righteousness, right? So, you know, these things are going to be revealed, but the angels are literally what the so-called white man will call aliens.
So now I'm wondering, when I think of Egyptians, right, and you see where they have like the eagle mask or the heads and stuff like that, were they really just paying homage to the angels?
That is a good question.
I mean, because also, like, when you look on the walls of Egypt, no matter what, I'm like, look at them afros and braids.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So
they found the combs. I've seen the picks made out of fishbone. I'm like, good God.
Well,
And ivory. Yeah.
because before you had Esau come on the scene, who was the forefather of the Caucasian race, everybody literally had melanin of skin.
Yeah.
And the word Esau just means he is wasted. So when Isaac seen his son that was born, he said, "Oh my goodness, Esau, like he is wasted. We've never seen this type of, you know, this type of skin tone before, right?" So when you look at a lot of the ancient Egyptians with afros and stuff like that, yes, they had those too, but it doesn't mean that we're the same people, because everything was regenerated through Noah's 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth.
Okay.
And the Israelites go back to the bloodline of Shem. The so-called Egyptians, Africans, Canaanites, things of that nature, right? Cushites, which go back to the Ethiopians, right? They go through the bloodline of Ham, right? So when you I'm gonna pull up the definition of Ham, right? And it's gonna give you a hint, right? That it's not, you know, that we have similarities, but we're not the same people. It's like Chinese people don't like to be called Japanese. Japanese people don't like to be called Chinese because they're literally 2 different people.
I did
right?
read while I was researching for the episode that there was a lot of mixing going on. So while there was people that probably looked like us with the dreads, there was also some that probably, you know, looked like, like Mesopotamians and stuff like that. Just various shades of brown.
Right.
Yeah.
From light to dark.
Let's
Oops,
see.
sorry.
No. That's a great point. Right, I'm gonna pull this up. This is the definition of Ham in the Zondervan's Compact Bible Dictionary. All right, I'm gonna pull this up. All right, so this is Ham, the youngest son of Noah, born probably about 96 years before the flood, and one of 8 persons to live through the flood. He became the progenitor of the dark races, not the Negroes, but the Egyptians, Ethiopians, Libyans, and Canaanites.
That was real specific.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So this is why a lot of our enemies will sit there and say, "Oh, you don't like it over here in America. Go back to Africa where you're from," right? Because that's another way of them trying to, you know, hide our nationality, right? And really, they should say, "You don't like it over here. Go back to Jerusalem where you're from," because that's where the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are truly from. We're not Africans. Heck, the term African is not even in the Bible. Africa was named after a so-called white man, right? By Leo Scipio Africanus.
Yeah, Africanus,
Right?
he was the
Yeah.
one that conquered it or whatever. It used to be called, it was Ethiopia.
Yeah.
For a while, or Kemet.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kemet. And there was another name, wasn't it?
Kush?
Was it
That
Kush?
was that's
Yep,
that
Kush.
library. Yeah.
Okay.
Kush goes back to the they're the Cushites. That's the Ethiopians of today,
Okay.
right? And Leo Scipio Africanus, he conquered Hannibal in the Punic Wars. Hannibal was an Israelite, right? And then you have like America. That's conquered by Americo Vespucci, who was an Italian map maker who paved the way for Christopher Columbus to come over here, rape, rob, enslave, and pillage. You know what I'm
Every
saying?
touch the continent.
Right.
Yep.
See that? So when we're calling ourselves African American, we're calling ourselves the name of 2 different white men, right? Caucasian race. We're calling ourselves the name of our enemies, of our oppressors, man. These Edomites. So this is how they've been doing this for quite some time, which is why a lot of our people don't know who they are. So when you have people like Kyrie, Kanye, you have brothers like me and many other brothers on all 4 corners of the earth who are going out in the streets and are teaching our people who we truly are according to the Bible, we're looked as being anti-Semitic. We're looked as being, this is a hate group because we're going against the system. And this is what the disciples did. This is what Christ did, right? Christ was hated by all men.
Yep.
You see what I'm saying? And to be a follower of Christ really means to be a Christian. So to be a true Christian, you're gonna be hated by all men for his name's sake, according to Mark 13:13.
Yeah.
Right? Matthew 24:10 on down. So these are things that we have to realize. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just getting, that was real truth right there as far as not knowing who you are and all that. But this was a lot of content, and I'm just thinking, okay, so if I want to further deep dive or kind of, start, learning more about the Israelite side, where should I start?
You should start in Deuteronomy chapter 28.
That's a scary chapter. Actually, that's where I did start, and that's where I was just like, why is he so angry? What did we do?
Because
what can I do to make this better? He's so mad.
I'm gonna show you.
Or I don't want to say he, the powers, the entity.
No, the Most High God, he's the ultimate power.
Okay.
Right? Yahweh. And Yahweh is angry with the wicked every day. He gets angry too. You see what I'm saying? Exodus 15:3 says that he is a man of war. Excuse me. He's a man of war. So he takes pleasure in war. He takes pleasure, right, in destruction. He's, according to Isaiah 45:7, he's the creator of good and evil. So he's the one that controls everything.
I appreciate him wanting that balance.
Right.
The yin and the yang.
All about balance.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, right, because we see in Deuteronomy 28:15, it says that, but it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. And then it goes into the curses.
Yeah.
When you read Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 1, it says, and it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. And all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God. Blessed shalt thou be in the city, blessed shalt thou be in the field, and it just keeps going on to all the blessings. So we're trying to tell our people that, our true reparations is going to come from us coming back to our heritage and our nationality.
It's spiritual. It's not going to be monetary.
And keeping the commandments of the Lord, because that's how we're going to receive our true reparations, which we're going to get the inheritance of these heathens, right? I'm going to bring this out real quick, right? Dealing with the inheritance of the heathens, right? I'm going to go to...
And the heathens are the oppressors.
Yes. And
okay.
All these other nations that are not so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, right? That's going to be our true inheritance. Let me go to Isaiah. I want to say 16. Actually, not Isaiah, Jeremiah. Sorry. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 16. Bear with me.
I love that I see so many pages highlighted. Like, I can tell that you use this book. It's not just there for decoration.
Well, it says this: you got to study to show thyself approved unto the Most High. So I don't really listen to just, what a man says. I like to go fact check that thing.
Okay.
Because Paul says that, we ought to, in Acts 5:29-31, that we ought to obey God rather than men, right? So this is, that's not what I want. Bear with me. Salaki, bear with me. Go ahead and ask another question, man, as I pull this up.
No, so we're going to wrap it up after this one. You got the time. Take your time.
Okay. All right.
And then you were talking about the movie, what you were saying, it wasn't Hidden Figures, Hidden Colors.
Yes.
You said that's a good one. And I know you said it made you kind of all over the place emotionally, like angry, elated, but...
Because it just fills in all the gaps in your life that you're not taught in school. Like, they'll tell you, like, the people came from Europe and they found the Silk Road somehow and found spices. Well, that's not exactly what happened. Like, the Africans, the Moors, showed them the Silk Road. The Moors are the ones that got Europe out of the Dark Ages. They told them, hey, you can't have your animals in the house. You have to have them outside. They showed that there's castles in Africa that predate the ones in Europe. Like huge castles, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it'll blow your mind. You'll be like, holy shit.
Well, because when you're dealing with all these different kingdoms that were set up right before they were destroyed. They all take something from one another.
Yeah.
So you had the Egyptians that were set up. Their monuments and buildings, the Assyrians took from them. The Babylonians was next. Then ancient Babylon was conquered by medieval Persia, right? They took on those same type customs. Medieval Persia was conquered by the Greeks, by Alexander the Great. They took on those same customs. Then the Greeks being conquered by the Romans. And then we're still living in modern day Rome, because Rome technically wasn't destroyed all the way. They just separated into 10 different, empires.
It got too big.
Which what we have today, where you have, the EU, right, and you have NATO, which actually represents the 7 heads and 10 horns that Daniel was talking about in his dream and his prophecy.
Is that the beast?
Okay. They're known as that beast. That's right.
And now there's more. I think there's like more pyramids in Ethiopia than there are in Egypt. I think it's Ethiopia.
Yeah, because
They
when you're
don't
dealing
teach
with
that.
the ancient map, right? When you're dealing with the map, right? Everything was actually compassed into one. All the land that you see right now, you look at the world map, everything was actually combined before the flood. Then once the flood happened, you had certain waters, that haven't gone all the way down, right? Which separates a lot of these lands, right? So when you're dealing with that, as far as like dealing with the Garden of Eden, it's compassed of literally 4 different rivers. Matter of fact, let me pull this up real quick. Genesis chapter 2. I'm gonna start at verse 11. Actually, verse 10. And a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from thence it was parted and became into 4 heads. Right. This is dealing with 4 different kingdoms. Right. The name of the first is Pison. That is it which compasseth the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold. And the gold of that land is good. There is bdellium and onyx and stone. And the name of the second river is Gihon. That same is it that compasseth the whole land of Ethiopia. So Ethiopia and then the land of Havilah are 2 different, 2 different spots. And the name of the third river is Hiddekel. That is which goeth toward the east of Assyria, right? Which we know is over there in Europe. And the 4th river is the Euphrates. So these 4 rivers literally compass throughout the entire Garden of Eden, which shows you that the Garden of Eden, and at the time that these lands were actually combined together, right?
Yeah.
Before the flood, right? And so, this is how so when we got a lot of our people say, well, everything started in Africa. Well, that's not the case, because the Garden of Eden, right, one of the rivers is over there towards the east of Assyria. You see what I'm saying? Then you have a river that's over there in Ethiopia, which is part of Africa, right? So at this time, it wasn't about, different land masses. No, this was all the same. This was all combined together, right?
Yeah.
So that just kind of lets you know that, that life didn't just start all the way in Africa, right? It started in many different regions as a whole when you're dealing with the Garden of Eden. And this is the precept I wanted to pull. This is Psalms, as far as having the inheritance of the heathen. This is Psalms chapter 2. I'm going to start at verse 8. Ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth for thy possession, because we don't possess any of these lands. So our true reparations are going to come in the Lord's kingdom, which will be here on earth. It's like that famous prayer, on earth as it is in heaven. Because there's literally 3 different heavens. This is a heaven, right? The firmament is known as being a heaven. So you have this place as a heaven, right? Then you have the sky. That's a heaven, right? Then you have waters that are above the sky according to the creation, which is why the sky is blue. And then above those waters is the 3rd heaven, which is where the Most High dwells at, the spirit world. So when we die, right, our bodies, of course, go back, to dust, but our spirits go up into the spirit world, right? And then we've been here before, right? We're normally generated around close to 300 years. So the last time that we were here, we were in slavery. So that's why I said, the spirit bears witness. That's what the scripture says, as far as knowing that you're an Israelite. We've been here before. The same spirits that were living, when Christ, was being persecuted by our own people are the same spirits that are here right now, that are literally saying like, oh, following Christ and stuff like that, the true Christ and things like that. You guys are a hate group. You guys are this and this and that. So we're going to have to go through the same thing, even me. I may have to go through the same thing that the disciples went through. I might get persecuted. I might get killed for this truth. I've been arrested for this already. You know, charges were dropped. All praise to the Most High. But, you know, this you're gonna have a lot of the saints that are gonna end up being persecuted and killed when this time really kicks up. Because right now, according to Revelation, you have 7 seals, and we're in the 4th seal right now.
Oh, so you believe the seals have been broken?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because they tell you the seals have a lot to do with history, right? And when you get into that 5th seal is dealing with a lot of the saints. The saints are known as the Israelites, who are going to be killed for the word of the Most High God, right? We're getting ready to approach the famine of the word, right? Not a famine of food, but a famine of the word. So they're going to start banning these Bibles.
Yes.
Well, they're trying to ban everything anyways. Like, people don't agree with what you got to say.
Yeah.
They already started banning books.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're already banning books.
Like if you don't agree with me, you're canceled.
Yeah.
If you agree with me, guess what? We're just gonna have you displayed. We're gonna have you displayed, make you feel embarrassed, make you do the walk of shame. And guess what? And it's gonna be at our expense, entertaining us.
Exactly.
Like puppets.
Yeah.
Well, man, I'd like to thank you for coming on to the show. Is there, can you give everybody your information, how they can get a hold of you if they want to get some more information? Any shout outs you want to send to anybody?
Yeah, first of all, again, I want to give a shout out. All praises, honor, and glory to the Most High, Yahawadah, Hashem, Mashiach, Kwamalaki, Yahushai, who the world calls the ultimate God, you know what I'm saying, and who the world calls Jesus Christ. I also want to give a shout out to all the brothers who are on the highways and hedges, who are on the streets, teaching our people who we truly are, presenting their bodies as a living sacrifice. I want to give a shout out to them. I want to give a shout out to the mighty sisters of the Akwad, right, in this truth, man, who are operating like the spirit of our mighty foremothers, reverencing their households, being submissive to their husbands, operating with the spirit of our foremothers like Sarah, you know, Mary, and things of that nature. I want to give a shout out to them. I also, if you can actually find me, if you search YouTube, WFI, 3 letters, WFI Seattle, which WFI stands for Watchmen for Israel. That's the organization that I'm a part of. I want to give a shout out to our mighty leader, Naquam, who's, we're everywhere. We got WFI out in the East Coast. We got them, down South, West Coast, in London. We're everywhere, man. Shout out to him. But yeah, you can just search WFI Seattle on YouTube and hit subscribe. That will take you directly to our page. You'll see camp videos where we go out on the streets and teach our people. You'll also see personal lessons as far as really just dealing with how we know that we're the Israelites and dealing with everything. You also got some music on there. I do music as well. I still keep up with my music.
You just dropped something recently, correct?
I did. My album just dropped yesterday. You just search on all platforms. Search Zamran. The name of the album is called Jacob's Trouble, because we're getting ready to approach Jacob's Trouble, which is trouble for Israelites at an all-time high, a time like no other. It's supposed to be worse than the transatlantic slave trade, right? So search Zamran, Zamran, Jacob's Trouble. It's available on all platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, wherever. This is Truth R&B, right? And Lord willing, you guys check that out. And it'll hit you a little bit, and be spirit filled, because that's what it's about. And also dropped a music video. Our music videos is on our WFI Seattle page as well. You can go check that out. Everything's on there, man. But other than that, just if you want to learn about more who you are, make sure that you get you a King James Bible. Get you the Apocrypha if you can't find the 1611 Bible, because they're expensive now. So sometimes you gotta. These are kind of hard to find in Barnes and Noble. They got these hidden, but you'll find one.
Okay.
Get you an Apocrypha, and and just follow the Hebrew Israelites, follow WFI Seattle, and read for yourself.
You can get it on Amazon.
That's right.
Everything's on Amazon.
I'm about to look. It's a personal journey, I think, just to kind of find out a little bit more about myself.
They said, take that Kyrie movie down. You the one we're about to charge double for? Yeah, sure. Well, thank you for coming through, man. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is The Night Strange. If you like what you hear, please do not hesitate to follow us on any platform that you listen to podcasts on. Once again, if you like the sounds you hear in the background, please do not hesitate to hit up super producer Keyz on the track. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, D-Mac Uno.
Rozzy the Champ.
And I'm Keyz Stanley.
And we will see you next time.
You're welcome to the Nightly Strange.
Next time.